There's so many different types of cybersecurity. Things that you hear are so different. So, one of them must be right and thus all the others wrong. Is that the case? Well, not necessarily. Cybersecurity spans the entire business environment. There are many different uses and best practices, and as many as there are business environments. What is right for one business may not be right for another. In banking operations, it's important to have transaction integrity. You want to verify who, what, when, where, and why each transaction was made, and then verify that the data is the same at different times and at different locations. But you might not necessarily care who sees these transactions or who sees the data if it's an open network and you want everybody to know what transactions were made. Contrasting that against the medical and healthcare industry, individual privacy and product authentication is the key concern. The transactions are all brokered by people, doctors, service providers, and individuals that own the medical records. So you don't really care about the transaction and the integrity of them. You care more about the privacy of that information and that only people see it who are allowed to see it. And in product authentication, you want to make sure that the right medicine is prescribed and the right equipment is used and that that equipment is, in fact, the one that you should be using. In critical infrastructure, trusted communications, time-related operations, and availability are the most important because you have electromechanical operations happening on systems that physically control stuff in the real world. So you have to make sure that the systems on a network that transferred those commands are trusted and that you trust that command that was given to it before you operate. And a lot of times things are time-related because two operations of two robotic components interface with each other. So they are now time-dependent and time-related operations. And availability. You have to know that this isn't going to go down. The power grid can't go down. The railroad track, the train can't go down. So availability is key in this type of environment. The software and media environment, they don't really care about transactions. They don't really care about privacy. They're giving it to everybody. And they don't really care about trusted communications. Once again, it's open for everybody to get. But they do care about enforcing use and the security to enforce the use of how that's done and prevent people from copying and make copies. And it's a different type of security model in each one of these areas you can see. Since we don't have a right and wrong, we don't want to focus on what's right and wrong. But let's look at a common management framework with pieces that are relevant to a particular business and implemented by that respective organization if they fit the need for that organization. But if they would change and have another need, they would also have the pieces of the framework that they could just expand into to implement the other pieces of security that they need. And that's another focus that we'll talk about in the security management framework. Bringing things together and unifying this management framework with all the pieces that are out there and how they would all fit together when needed.